welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm Jade Harrell, and I'm joined by Amber Clear and Ivy Hartman.
Amber, are you going to become a member of this fan club? Or what?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
I tried to tell you all. The set looks a little different because we've added a little more sunshine.
Oh.
And I have to tell you, that's how things go well for us. But where you want to know, I want to know, because of our topic today, how do you get creative, Amber, creative clear?
Listen, so if I'm too tired, I touch dirt. And what I mean by that is I either go hiking alone where it's quiet or I garden. But if I have had enough sleep and I have things that, if I have problems that need to be solved, or if I just need to figure out a new path because whatever it is isn't spicing up my life enough, then I put myself in uncomfortable situations. And what I mean by that is that I'll either go somewhere I've never been, or I'll do something I've never done, or learn a new skill, because that almost refreshes my brain. And I found that I get more confidence the more that I conquer. And conquering it isn't completing the task. Conquering it is just attempting, and like keep attempting, because that gets my brain moving because I'm doing something new and I am gaining this confidence. So then my brain naturally just starts to flow, but I have to put myself in new situations.
And the words to say all the things, like, I was like, yes, conquering.
I'm so glad this is on the show, so I can go back and look at and put it on my mirror. Creativity comes from conquering and conquering.
Well, it's about challenging yourself. You put your brain in new spaces, and then it's like, okay, I have to rewire because this isn't the same old.
Well, I'm glad I just didn't know that that's what I was doing, right? Yeah. And so for me with creativity, like I'm like, oh, I do that. Yeah. Oh, but now I'm going to be like,
intentional with it.
Right. Yeah. So when you were asking me off camera, like, what are you going to talk about with creativity? I'm like, shoot, what do I do with creativity? I think I'm a creative person, but I don't have a lot of original thoughts. Like usually I just beg and borrow and steal from people. But I really like to cook. Like literally, if I go to bed at night, I'll think about flavors and stuff, and I'll get up and I'll try it. So I like cooking. And then y'all listen to this. I just bought a denim jacket at Aldi.
I love Aldi.
And I'm super excited. I've been looking on Etsy and all these things. I can't wait to do these
Customize it.
Yes!
Customize it.
I want to do all this sparkling. Like, am I going to go more rock and roll meets Marilyn Monroe? What am I going to put on this jacket?
Did you buy a patch yet?
Not yet.
Patch? Okay.
Yeah, you can.
So don't get stuck in the rut. Like you just have to do it. Like some people spend so much time planning it that they don't ever get to the process because it becomes overwhelming. Okay. So you just got to do that first thing. Yeah. Put the first.
I'll put it on socials, or I'll wear it on one of our upcoming shows so you all can see what I've done.
It is. Yeah. Okay. Well, I particularly I just get around color. Whether it be wrapping my head in it or colorful music, environments that are colorful, I just absorb those.
That doesn't surprise
frequencies.
Me about you.
Right? Does it show?
Colorful personalities.
Yeah, right. We'll take it.
Does it show? Well, let me tell you something. Our guest today definitely knows a thing or two about being creative and about problem solving. So we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the co-founder of the Women's Creative with us in the studio. Don't go anywhere.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers.
Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free adult education centers near you.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. The Women's Creative is dedicated to growing women-owned businesses and their brands. Since its inception in 2017, the group itself has grown by leaps and bounds. Our guest today has been there since the very beginning. Please help us welcome Christina Weaver to the program. Yes. Christina, hi. The Women's Creative. Yeah. I feel so empowered just saying that.
Right.
Tell us about the origin, and is that embedded in the name and mission?
Absolutely, yes. So the Women's Creative was started by a couple of women who were business owners of product-based businesses who started a vendor market, I guess, for women-owned businesses.
Gotcha.
So it was a very small thing. It started in the Grove and it ended up growing really, really fast. And one of the women that started it was actually someone who worked with me at a business that I was running. We were selling ethically made clothing and jewelry, and she was helping me to sell it with some of her products that she had personally. And she came to me one day and was just like, Christina, this is growing so much faster than I can handle. I have no interest running events and vendor markets. Like, do you want it? Do you want to take it over? Right. And at that time it was, I think it was called the St. Louis Women's Pop-Up Shop. And
okay, I'm familiar.
Yeah. And so this was like 2017-ish, 2016, 2017. And so I said, well, I don't really want to run markets either, but these are going really well for my business. So every time we'd pop up and sell, we were doing really well. And a lot of women were saying that. So we're like, well, I feel like I should keep it going, if only for the community. And so then we got into it, and I brought in, another friend of mine. We kind of worked on it together for a while, and they grew, and these markets kind of got bigger and more established, and we were able to work with more women. And yeah, from there we were able to develop all kinds of different services and sales opportunities for them.
That's incredible. So why do you think it caught on and grew so fast?
Well, I think that St. Louis is a really unique place for small women-owned businesses. The barrier to entry is a little lower. Our cost of living is lower than other places in the community. We also have a tremendous history of women business ownership and product creation here in St. Louis. So whether that's with the history we have with in fashion or shoes or hair and skincare, and there's so much amazing just legacy that we stand on as women in St. Louis when we're creating business. And I don't think we give it enough credit. I think, the fact that we're surrounded by this amazing community and kind of cloud of women who are doing this.
Supportive community,
yes. Yeah. Gives women this idea that, maybe I could do that too. And then you see them creating and developing.
However, I'm exhausted. When I think of a woman, I think of the things you do, and we haven't even we've dipped our toe into what Christina does. So I'm tired, thinking about a woman entrepreneur who might also be a mother or a spouse or all these things. And I go, and I tried it for a hot second and I'm like, so when I hear about it, I'm like the person who's like, I have to buy all the things or go to all the places because I want them to keep making our community vibrant and things like that. So I don't, that's my only thing that I can contribute other than I admire people who can do it. Yeah. Because I'm scared and tired. Yeah. So yay for entrepreneurs.
The long story short of that is wow. I mean, it really is a wow, because that entry point is also the point where most businesses fail in those early stages. Absolutely. In the formulation, in the development, and I think you've created, which clearly your receipts show, a lane that was welcoming and supported and sustainable for these small businesses, whether they went on to be enterprises or just kept being able to do business on their terms and live their lives.
And so Women's Creative is different than Procure.
Yeah, great question.
Okay.
So the Women's Creative is, at this point, an event-based service. So we really focus on those events that engage small women-owned businesses and local creatives. And we do a lot of those events we try to keep them in high foot traffic, really interesting locations in town. So many people are familiar with the markets that we did during COVID at City Foundry. We're now doing some at Armory. We work with Union Station, have worked for years with Westport Plaza. Now we're getting to do it again now that they've got their kind of new stuff going, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Facelift.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just got a lot of really interesting things going on in high foot traffic areas, because the idea is people are already going there. So it's
that's kind of what I'm wondering in that distinction, is because when you hear market, people are going to have different associations. I go to the grocer, or I've gone to an open air. How do we define market in the way that you all are hosting these events?
Yeah, that's a good question. So generally they're pop-up events that are just a day long. Sometimes they'll be 2 or 3 days in a row at the most during the holidays. We'll kind of do them over a weekend. But for the most part, they're kind of a booth type experience where you're walking around and experiencing lots of different brands. They're generally mixed merchandise, which means that there's all kinds of things. You might find honey next to handmade handmade jewelry next to accessories or things for your home.
Gotcha. So in the spirit of like the festivals and fairs, but not just as seasonal.
How do I
as
know
once a
about
year.
them though?
Yeah.
Like, I like to be in the know, right? Like so how do I stay in the know and know about all this?
This is a great question. So certainly you can follow The Women's Creative on Instagram and Facebook, and our website's thewomenscreative.com, and we list everything we've got going on. I think St. Louis is also really great at encouraging and getting the word out about other events, because we're certainly not the only people in town who throw vendor markets for small businesses. There are lots of other people who do. And so if you look at like Bucket List or some of the larger kind of social media, like St. Louis Mom does a good job of listing them. A few other really great conglomerate social media feeds will list us.
That's the good part about social media. Yeah,
that's the great part.
I talk all the time about I want people to use social media intentionally, and this is one of the things that makes social media so great.
And that's how I first, when we first said we were going to have you on the show, I was like, wait, that whole thing that took place, was it 314 Together?
Yes.
That started on social media during the pandemic. And I was like, oh wait, I know this.
Yes. Yeah. That was such an interesting experience. So the night before the shutdown, which probably was like March 12th, I think, and we had an event in the Grove at Hello Juice. It was like 60 women, and we were just kind of all together. And there was rumor of the shutdown, and we were like, oh no, what are small businesses going to do? Like that was our first. We were just like, this is a death sentence. If these people have to close, all these women that we have just spent the last couple years like teaching and mentoring and growing and encouraging are going to have to figure out what to do. And so we were like, how do we kind of get the word out about how like when people in the community can support these small businesses if they can't physically come together? And so we started it as literally just a hashtag campaign. So it was like, if you are a small business, just use this hashtag. It's searchable. You can follow it. And that way people can just scroll through on their social and see all the different businesses that have used the hashtag.
Wow.
So that's how it started. And then within about 48 hours, there was like some pressure to create a Facebook group. So we were like, okay, let's create a Facebook group, but we're not doing an Instagram page. We're not running any more social media. This is not going to be any bigger than this. And so then we created the Facebook group, and within, I don't know, a day or two, it was, thousands of people in there and everybody talking, and we ended up getting some great press for it. And then over the course of the following 6 months, we did a variety of t-shirt drops with some of the bigger brands in town, and all of the proceeds from those shirts went to support what the Community Foundation was doing and their grants to small businesses. So it was a really cool project. We tried to kind of keep it going after the pandemic, but then we had to go back to our life, and things got busy.
Christina, you keep signing up for stuff you don't like to do, and it keeps turning into winning.
She doesn't like it. She's got a finite amount of time.
It keeps turning into gold, I say.
The Midas touch. And so all these creative things, right? So,
but Procure, one of them, and I took you off of that. I apologize. Yeah. You were saying?
Absolutely. So Procure was started by the Women's Creative, and it is a physical store where we provide retail as a service. It's at City Foundries. We've got 2,000 square feet there. We represent about 65 different women-owned businesses out of that store. And then we opened a second location in Tampa, Florida last spring.
I love that.
That is so exciting. Yeah. We have so much to talk to you about. Procure in and of itself is just a manifestation of that idea. I think you're the source. I'm starting to wonder. But you'll get to hear more, and you'll see why we're having such a great time. But we got to take a break for now. So stay with us. More with Miss Christina Weaver when we come back.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
And welcome back to Let's Talk. We're ready to pick up where we left off with our guest, Christina Weaver, the co-founder of the Women's Creative. as well as a number of businesses, is opening up our ideas to what's possible. Christina, we got to keep going on this.
Yeah.
Well, we were at the top of the show, we were talking about what keeps us creative, right? And what we like to do as our creative outlet besides this. So, yeah, you're a serial entrepreneur, self-proclaimed, right? So what's your creative outlet, or what do you get? How do you view yourself as a creator?
No, this is a great question, because I never did. I mean, I was the kid in school who was like, please, like, get me out of art class. Like, I don't want to think about anything with that part of my brain. Like, I was very analytical. I loved to like read and analyze things. And I just was not interested in anything that was creative. But as I got older and I kind of started using business to solve problems, I realized that we could kind of create these interesting solutions. Like, I see myself probably first as a problem solver, but then I realized
strategic above all else.
Absolutely. Yes. And then as I was working on that, I realized like there's so much creativity involved with navigating business and branding, especially in a way that solves problems and really potentially helps other people.
Because my gift might be making candles, and it might not be about accounting, marketing, all those other things.
But you have to do all those things.
Yeah. Wear all the hats.
If you're a business owner.
Again, back to me feeling exhausted. So if I'm an entrepreneur, but so Procure helps alleviate some of that for some of these business owners.
It does. Right? So we really created Procure as a service. So it's a sales service to small women-owned businesses. So we work on a consignment model, in part because that creates a partnership with us and the people that we sell for.
Then you're invested in the business as well.
And vice versa. Yes. So, and we do it in a way where we don't charge them to physically be in the store. So we only get paid when we sell the product. So we really have a lot of vested interest in moving their product for them. That being said, like, we really do everything we can to provide a high touch, really high hospitality service to all of our brand partners that we work with, so that they feel like we're really caring well for them and they don't have to do a whole lot.
So what's your product selection?
Yes, I was going to say success
because
story.
you do the same thing with the customers that come in. And so you're creating that relationship with your vendors and your businesses because you're representing them in the best possible way. I have bought this pair of glasses 4 times. I've lost one, I've broken an arm, and I'm like, where can I find them? They say Procure. So I call Kim Teague. She says they'll be ready for you. Great bag, package, even a cloth.
Beautiful.
And every time we go in, we feel really at home. How do you pick? You've only got so much space. How do you select the businesses to work with, especially with the risk that you're going to bear, not having any investment up front?
That's a great question.
And kind of trusting on where they may be going and what can be done.
Absolutely. Well, when you do business like we do, where it's business with a purpose, you have to really balance the business and the purpose. So the business side is the answer to that question. Okay. We really try to buy into things that we think are going to sell, that are trending. We really like to work with women like Kim from Kim Teague, who is really committed, responsive, interested in also selling things that are going to sell. And that tends to, for the most part, work for us.
Mm-hmm. So if you're using business as a way to solve problems, what do you do when market naturally changes, consumer behavior naturally changes, those things that are outside of the control, to pivot and make it continue to be a successful model?
That's a great question. You get really creative, and I'm still figuring out the answers.
The women's will, yeah.
I'll get back to you on that. But no, we do a lot of in-store events. We open up our store for networking experiences for women to come together. We do everything we can to get ourselves outside of the store. So we'll pop up. I mean, really, we double down, and sometimes, and this is where being an entrepreneur gets really hard, you have to work harder, and smarter.
And smarter, because I love that. So I love this about you, that you found your niche, right? And you're making it work, right? and a mom, and you were doing, and so what I see is this, Christina is a person when we think about people, the triple bottom line, and then the planet, in terms of when we do business. So what's the secret to having a location out of another state, and here having 3 kids,
Work-life balance.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to still like you, but if you're managing it, I don't know if I'm in your league.
I know. No, I'm not managing it well. Never, ever.
Oh, good.
So
word.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's always a ball dropping.
Yeah, sure.
Period. Always.
I mean,
for all of us, no matter how busy you are.
Uh-huh.
Sleep. I
Yes.
need sleep.
She
I
sleeps.
Nice,
think,
good, clean sleep. You
I
have
do.
to,
I know
right.
that's such a simple thing, but like,
So big.
I go to bed early and I sleep, and that really helps me be effective. I also like don't do things I don't have to do, and
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I try to.
Because they told you, you said, I don't want to do events.
Right, exactly.
Well.
Yeah. No, but if I don't feel like it serves, and literally this is in the minutia, like getting up in the day. If I don't think it serves what my kids need or what my businesses need at that time, like in that day, I try not to do it.
Right on.
And even if that means like an extra errand or an email or whatever, sometimes things get pushed off for me just because it doesn't feed the goals that I set for myself.
How are
that
you
day.
politely rejecting people then? Because I can
was just gonna
tell.
say, how do you say no?
Yeah.
You are absolutely the type that's not going to crush someone, but you're going to be blunt and to the point. So how are you politely rejecting people?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely will say like thanks, no thanks. But I use.
Thank goodness she didn't say that to us.
I know, here I am. I use networking to solve that problem. So it's like, you know what, I might not be the best fit, or like this may not work for me right now.
So you
but
give them options.
Absolutely. But here's three
That's
other
good.
people who I feel like are great contacts for you.
Oh, that's
And
good.
that's been awesome because it really helps like the community grow. And I because of the work that I do, I work in volume. So I know lots of people a little bit. I don't know a ton of people really, really well.
Yeah.
But I get to connect relationships where those people hopefully get to know each other really deep and have great long-term partnerships.
Oh my gosh.
That's so
I want to
good.
be her when I grow
Oh,
up.
look, I've already siphoned from her brain. No, children, I won't be cooking tonight, but I would like to refer you to the toaster oven and the
that.
instant
Or here's the recipe.
Like, you can use
here's
it.
the ingredients.
But I think
so
that's
good.
about empowering people and helping them be resourceful as well. Because I think, especially as women in business, we tend to overserve others. And if you're teaching them how to be resourceful and independent on their own, you're helping them to grow in business and as a person.
But you have to be okay with the fact that they're not going to do it the way you did it.
100%.
Or
Yeah,
could do it.
great point.
And they may disagree with what you want done. And so that for me, like my first business was a nonprofit, and I learned a lot about founder syndrome during that experience. And that's just something I said to myself in that moment, like in that time of my life, where I was like, I'm never going to hold anything I do so tight that I couldn't give it up to somebody
Let
else.
go or be dragged.
Or get it to change if it needs to change.
Fantastic.
Whoa.
So excited to hear that. So working with women in particular and with creativity having it can swing
Limitless and boundless. right?
boundless.
Yes.
Exactly. You're getting where I'm going. There's some of that you just allow to be, but I wonder what kinds of things would you like to see in women-owned businesses?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I know this seems counterproductive from what we were just saying about creativity, but like I would love to see women be a little less creative and a little more strategic. I love that women create things that, you know, they really feel like it's their creative outlet and it's their passion and they love it. But they also want to be financially successful. And in order to do that, you really have to analyze the market. You have to consider cost. You have to really get into the nuts and bolts of the business piece. And I'd love to see women enjoying the creativity in that too.
Okay,
That
so
figures and makes sense with you because I also think that's what gives us more freedom to create. Then we're released from the stress and the pressures
If we
of
think
trying
about
to
it that
do
way.
good while doing good and vice versa.
I think women are worried about the expectations from other people because a lot of times they are both the emotional constant, but the physical constant, and sometimes the financially constant in today's families. And so women are, it's not that they're afraid to take those risks, it's that they have a higher risk intrinsically because if they fail, their families are depending on them.
Well, and it's also the looking at all these other people who look like they're succeeding and constantly feeling like you're not measuring up.
right.
Because we
We're very
compare ourselves to others.
creative at re-seeing ourselves in someone else's story. What a tremendous blessing you have been, insightfully as well as in community. This was a really terrific conversation.
Oh yeah.
It's been such a pleasure, Christina. I could have you on.
I know.
Every single day. Actually, I know where to find you.
Come on, we're going to take a road trip. We're going to outing.
Let's go see the Tampa location.
We can do a social media experiment.
Wow.
Come on down.
Love it. Well, it's been a pleasure having Christina, and we love what you're doing. Absolutely. Yes. You can learn more about The Women's Creative by visiting thewomenscreative.com. And for more information about Procure, go to shopprocure.com or go down to the Foundry.
Right.
You can find out how to get involved, upcoming events, and much more. So we're not done yet. We've got a little more to say. That's what we're here to do, is talk. So stay with us. When we return, we'll talk with you in a sec.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
I am so ready to build on what we learned from Miss Christina.
100%. I mean, I was already thinking like, okay, are you going to employ any of the ideas? Of like letting,
listen, I'm going to go. So we're all three going to go visit first of all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Then we're going to go online and visit it there too.
Yes. I know.
And we're going to go to the other location.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime to take me down the Foundry. Well, the big thing I thought of too is my anxiety gets me. If you haven't learned this about me, I'm like wound up, especially this show. Like that letting go of certain things that you don't like have to do all the things that you were supposed to do that day. And that has been really freeing. You know, I love when she said
teaches people to be resourceful so that she's not the it person anymore, which is so empowering, but also terrifying for people who are in business, because we know that we know best. And in order to empower other people, we have to let go of that power and then also trust them that they're going to do it in the right way.
Well, I hear the collective benefit of it. You know, they call it the Women's Creative, but it is certainly a collective that helps. I mean, we can be creative all day, but being able to reach over and get a hand to hold to kind of walk through a thing like this. See, let me tell you, this is my best show ever because of this right here.
We got
but
it.
I'm just saying, like, having someone that you can lock arms with. Amber, how much more have we been able to achieve as we've been able to...
It's better together. Yeah, we move forward united. And if we are not united, then it's so much harder. Do you know how much easier it would be to climb mountains if someone was there with me, pulling me along? And like, then when they're tired, I pull them along. Like, it's...
I'm more of a rear end.
Yeah. I was just going to say...
I call that a turbo boost. I call that a turbo boost when I'm like, I can't make it. And they're like... But like the thing is that like if we can stay united, then we can move forward, both as women, but also as businesses and as a city.
Okay. Absolutely.
I'll just keep supporting them. That's my thing.
No, you can push me from behind.
The turbo boost.
I'll take
turbo. There we go.
I will take that any day. But as a woman, to know that there's a place for that, there's an intentionality about it. It's all wins for me. Plus the frames.
Well, and that's it exactly. So you could be in the Foundry and you could be shopping and you may not even know that Procure is doing all the things that it's doing.
65 businesses.
That's
just
amazing.
In that spot.
2,000 square feet.
In there.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a good use of space.
Yeah. We need to go there, and then we need a road trip to Florida. Like,
yeah. You guys, that could be a whole reality show.
You didn't even realize what you were getting roped into.
I'm gonna put you in my Jeep and we're gonna go.
We're gone. So look for us. We'll be on the highway. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. We've got to thank our special guest, Christina Weaver of the Women's Creative and Procure. And thank you at home for joining us. You've made it lots of fun. The show may be over, but you know where to find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube, or the highway.
That's right.
Or visit us at stltv.net. I'm Jade Harrell for Amber Clear and Ivy Hartman. Dreamy. We'll see you next time on Let's Talk.